So again, my name is Sandy, and I am a Central Florida licensed realtor. Each Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to come to you with a different topic regarding buying or selling a home. Our topic today is going to be 27 valuable tips you should know to get your home sold fast and for top dollar. Now we're in January, the beginning of 2021. We know we're in the middle of a crazy COVID pandemic and different things going on in our nation. But people are still buying or selling because people still have to live somewhere, right? And there's a big influx of buyers on the market right now. I don't know why. It's boxing us, the professional. The market is very aggressive right now. Sellers are getting over asking price in a lot of cases for their properties. So it's a great time to sell because we're in a seller's market, and it's always a great time to sell in a seller's market. People always talk about time in the market. It's kind of hard to time the market exactly, but when you're in a great season, you're in a great season, right? So that's great. And also, new construction is on the rise. And what I'm finding is a lot of my sellers are literally selling their home to buy a new construction home, right? They're selling their older home to get into a new construction home, or they just want to have a bigger space. And the builders are giving so much incentives right now, like down payment assistance, closing cost assistance, and showing in appliances and granite or quartz counters and 42-inch cabinets and a lot of great stuff going on. So if you have a home that's like kind of older, or you had dreams of getting a brand new home, or maybe you're in a townhome or a condo and you were thinking of selling that and getting a new home, now would be a great time to do that because two things. One, it's a seller's market, so you might very well get more for your home than you anticipate. And two, interest rates are so low. I am seeing interest rate at as low as 1.75%. I've seen 2.25%. I've seen builders pay down a lot of interest rate for the buyers. I have a buyer right now buying a new construction, and their interest rate they got is at 2.25 because the builder bought some of the points down. Now it's going to take them 6 months to build a house, but their interest rate is locked already, right? So that's awesome news. So the first thing we need to do when we are thinking about selling a home or selling your home is to figure out, why are you selling? Are you selling it to get a bigger space? Maybe you guys have outgrown the home, or are you selling to get a smaller space? Maybe the kids are grown and they're gone and the house is too big for you, right? So either way, we got to figure out why we're selling. What's the big why? Why are we selling? The reason you want to do that as step one is because many things are going to happen in between this whole thing of bringing your house together to sell it, and you want to make sure that you're getting the best price, that you have the best why, so when things get rough, you'll remember why you're selling, right? That's very important. Okay. Now, keep the reason why you're selling to yourself, right? You don't want to go around saying, oh, well, I'm selling the home because it's too big, I want a smaller home, or I'm selling the home because it's too small, I want a bigger home, or I'm selling the home because the taxes are too high, or whatever the reason is. Because whoever you tell that reason to, with the exception of your agent, you're going to be very confident with your real estate agent. But whoever else you tell that to, they're going to start spreading that. And eventually they're going to go around saying, well, this lady's selling or this guy's selling because of blah, 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 blah. So maybe they'll consider a lower price for their home. So you never want to share the reason why you're selling. Before you come up with a price for your home, you got to do a little bit of homework, a little bit of research. I know a lot of people go to Zillow. Now, Zillow is not the most accurate, I have to tell you. Zillow is only going by what's sold in your area. They're not looking on the square footage a lot of times, on the improvement of different homes a lot of times. A lot of stuff is completely ignored by Zillow because it's an algorithm, right? So the machine, the computer, is what's pricing the property for you in Zillow. So do not rely on that. You can have that as a suggestion, but don't rely on that. Your most accurate pricing is going to either come from a licensed realtor who has been working the market, or an appraisal. Those are the two places you're going to get that information from. Either if you hire an appraiser to get you the price, or you call a local realtor like myself to price it out for you. But other than that, do not go on the computer and take the price on the computer as that's what you got to sell it for. Okay? Because that's not always the case. It's important for you to set your price based upon the subdivision you're in. If you're in an older community, what kind of amenities did you improve on? No, it doesn't mean if you spend $10,000 to renovate the property since you've lived there, that you're going to get the $10,000 back, right? Doesn't mean that you might get more, you might get less, right? So it depends on how the market is playing. Also, you may want to do, and I spoke about this last week, Thursday as well, you may want to do a preliminary home inspection because, as I said, when you live in a home for a while, you don't really notice things, right? And then the inspector comes in and starts finding things, like they move some stuff, and next thing you know, they're saying you have moisture or whatever the situation is. So it's a very good idea for you to get a preliminary home inspection. I always advise on that. Next thing you want to do is you want to do some home shopping yourself, right? So you want to go take a look at similar homes that's similar to your home. And a lot of times we become very critical, right? Because when we're looking at other people's stuff, we're like, yeah, it's nice, but I have a higher level granite, they have the lower level granite, or I have 36, I have 42-inch cabinet, they only have 36 inches, and that kind of thing. Try to be objective when you're home shopping. Try not to criticize what you're looking at too much, especially in your own mind, because you're gonna beat up what the other people are selling, trying to elevate your house, and we're all guilty of that. And we don't want to do that. We want to be very critical. Also, you may during your home shopping phase, you may also want to go buy some builders, and if they're building homes similar to yours, see what are some of the new updates that they're putting in these houses, and how does your house compare to the new construction being built. Of course, you're going to have more character in your home, you're going to have your decorations, all that stuff, but what is in your stuff that's going on, and how does it compare to my home? Because if you're in the same price range as new construction, you're going to want to make your house look as new construction as possible, because obviously the buyers are going to be comparing your house to the new construction home. And most buyers look at hundreds of homes on the internet before they even start shopping, literally. And when they do start to shop, they may look at 10 to 15 more homes. They might visit 4 or 5 different builder home sites based upon the location they're looking to move to and how many builders are building in that location. But they're going to be looking at that. And if you're selling a home, let's say for 400,000, and there's new construction homes in your area for 400,000, they will be comparing both. And you want to make sure that your home stand up to the test. So you might have to do a little bit more sprucing up than another person have to do, simply because you'll be competing with new construction. And trust me, you can, it doesn't matter the age of the house, you can compete with new construction as long as we know what we're competing with. Like, what are some of the things we need to do? And everything doesn't have to be expensive, guys. Like, seriously. There's a lot of things that can be done that won't break the bank, that will still allow you to do the finishes and still sell your house at a good price. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, we talk about an appraisal and why would that be a benefit to you? You want to get you may want to, okay, so if you're in a subdivision and a lot of the homes are similar homes, and all of them are selling, and some sold within the last 6 months of you listing your property for sale, then that may be a good judge. You may not need to go for an appraisal, right? But if you have an unusual property, like you're on, 1 to 5 acres or even more, and you have like a big square footage in your home, and there's not many like properties like that in your neighborhood, then at that point you may want to consider getting an appraiser. Also, let's say you have a home with an in-law suite that's a legal in-law suite, that might also get you a different price. So a professional realtor will help you with that, and an appraiser. I always suggest, whenever you have an unusual home that is not common to the neighborhood that you're in, it's always a great idea to get an appraisal, just to figure out where the price is and what are they allocating for, right? And the real estate agent could also do that for you, but an appraiser will even go deeper and be able to research further how your home would be priced. Now, bear in mind that if you get an appraisal done, I want you to understand, if you get an appraisal done and you put your house on the market and the appraisal came on at whatever the price is, and the buyer that's coming to buy your home is a FHA or VA or any other person, they're going to see that the appraisal was done within a certain amount of time frame, right? So I'm going to assume that when the appraisal that you're going to do is done, that it will come in where it needs to be. And most of the time, they typically do. Now, the next thing is number 7, we're at deciding upon a realtor. Who are we going to use, and how are we going to make that decision? So I've always tell my sellers, I've always said, make sure that the agent can guarantee everything that they're saying, right? So make sure you have a cancellation in place somewhere, where if the agent is not living up to what they're telling you they could do, that you could cancel. You don't want to get trapped in a 6-month contract and you have no wiggle room. What if you sign a 6-month contract and then the agent drops the ball? Where does that leave you? Nowhere, right? So make sure you have a guarantee. Make sure the agent is guaranteeing everything. For us, when we list a property, we have a guarantee that all our sellers sign. And we have a guarantee that says everything that we're going to do. And if at any point we're not doing all the stuff we said we're going to do, the seller has the right to cancel the contract with us. That's how confident we are in what we do. So you'll want to make sure that the realtor you're going to choose is going to also have that kind of confidence and said, listen, I'm going to sell your home. These are the steps I'm going to do. If you feel I'm not doing these steps, call, cancel the contract, no question asked, right? That's the kind of thing you want to get into before you choose an agent. You also want to choose an agent that's very knowledgeable in the real estate space. You don't want to choose an agent that is not that knowledgeable, because there's a lot of things that come to play in a real estate transaction, and you want to make sure you're knowledgeable. Now, we do offer a website that we have a ton load of information on. Anybody could go on that website and get the information for free. It's all real estate information regarding buying or selling a home. And you could go to Central Florida Real Estate.info. We try to make it real simple. So that's Central Florida Real Estate.info. Another quick thing I'm going to ask you to do is definitely like us or subscribe to us, and definitely click on the notification button so you could be notified every time we upload a new video or every time we're live on Facebook, because we do both. Okay. Now, let's get to number 8. Number 8 is ensure you have room to negotiate. What does that mean? That means you don't want to price the property too high, but at the same time, you want to leave some room for negotiation. So the buyer, well, in this market that we're in, I don't even think you need to do that because these properties are selling so fast. But if you want to have the buyer feel like they got some kind of discount or bargain or something, you can leave a little bit of room for negotiation. It depends upon the market that we're in. We're in a very aggressive seller's market right now, so we may not need to do that. But if we're in a slower market, if the market slows or it's not, homes are not selling as fast as they are right now, then we might need to leave a little bit of room for negotiation. In this market, we're pricing to sell, right? Because we know it's going to sell, so we're going to price it to sell. Now, appearance do matter. Make that count. So that is true. You and I both know that one of the reasons why people buy new construction homes is because the builder do a fabulous job on the model home, and you go in the model home and you want to get your home just like the model home. So then they get us again on upgrades, right? Because you keep upgrading to make it look like the model home. And even after doing all of that, when your home is built, it's not going to look like the model home because they already have furnishing to complement colors and all that great stuff going on. So guess what? That's what we're going to have to do when you're selling your home. You're going to have to do exactly what the builder does. So you're going to keep a model home in mind, and you're going to say to yourself, how can I make my home look like a model home? And that's exactly what we do. We're going to neutralize everything. So we're going to take all the pictures down. The only pictures we're leaving up are pictures of the ocean or, neutral pictures. We're going to take all the family pictures down and trying to make it as neutral as possible. The more neutral it is, the more a buyer could see themselves in it. The more of your personal touch that's in it, the more likely you're going to have to find someone that has your taste. And the probability of that is way smaller than the probability of it being neutral, because when it's neutral, we have more people that could come and do whatever they want once they purchase the property. So appearance matter, and we want to make it as model looking as possible, especially if you're competing with new construction homes, right? So that's very important. All right. Invite the honest opinions of others. So you got to be very, what do you call it? It can't be too sensitive. And a lot of us are sensitive when it comes to our own stuff, right? Our own home, whatever it is. People say something and we're like, wait, what? However, if you want to get top dollars for your home, you have to invite and get the honest opinion of others, right? So you could invite 2 or 3 different real estate agents over to give you an opinion of price and an opinion of what they think about the property. You could also invite over, a few friends, family members, and do pay attention to what they're saying, because they're going to be objective, right? Don't pick your best friend, because your best friend may not want to hurt your feelings. But if you ask a neighbor to stop by, maybe a neighbor you're friendly with, or maybe some friends, and ask them to be objective, try to keep an open mind and not get upset over what they're saying, right? Not get, well, what do you mean? Because don't defend it. Don't defend it. Just listen to what they're saying. think about it. If you're getting upset, don't respond. Just say, okay, I understand what you're saying, right? That's the answer, because they're looking on the property in the eyes of the buyer, and because you live in the property, you don't see the objection, but somebody coming in from the outside is going to see it. And sometimes people could be too harsh, and sometimes people are jealous as well. But for the most part, I think is going to give you an honest thing as to what you need to do to get things together. Okay, I think that, and you got to be very you cannot be too critical or too defensive on that. And that's one of the reasons why some agents get in trouble, because the homeowner, they're scared to tell the homeowner the truth about their property because they think the homeowner is going to get upset. But the thing is, you have to find a way to be realistic with the homeowners as an agent, because the homeowner is expecting you to sell the property. And if you do not sell the property because of whatever reasons that you don't sell the property, the homeowner is going to blame you. You cannot, at the end of the listing period or the end of the point where it's not selling or there's a cancellation involved, you can't say, well, I really wanted you to do X and you didn't, so that's why, right? That don't come into play. We don't even play that game, right? So we have to be very objective up front when we go into a seller's home to let them know exactly what's going on, what's it going to take to sell, and if they're willing to commit to that. Because not every sellers are really willing to sell. Some people are just, oh, I'll put the property on the market. If I sell it, I sell it. If I don't, I don't, right? That kind of seller may not get as much motivated buyers because they're not going to put the work in for the most part to get the property sellable. They're just playing a game with the market. So if you're playing a game with the market, you're not going to probably get as much motivated sellers as if you're really, buyers, as if you're really serious and you really have to sell the property and you price it to sell and you stage it to sell. Now, I know it's hard living in a home that's on the market for sale. I know it's hard having to keep it in a showing state all the time. But typically, you'd get 24-hour notice if you are 48-hour notice, whatever time you need to get it ready. And then it's just a pain of getting it ready. So imagine this, guys. No one wants to keep getting the phone call. Yes, we have someone that want to see the property tomorrow, and then you got to go get it ready for it to be shown tomorrow. Or you might be like, I don't feel like tidying up the house, so I'm going to skip that showing for tomorrow, right? So you don't want to do that. So in order to avoid doing that, first impression counts. So in the beginning, it is best to present the best light possible so you could sell the home as soon as possible and don't have to worry about having to keep the home in a showing condition, right? You want to put it on the market and you want to make sure it's done, ready to go. Okay, that's very important. All right, what's number 11? Get it spick and span clean and fix everything, even if it seems insignificant. We just kind of killed this, right? We just kind of went over this. Like, get it clean, get it done, show it in the best light type thing, so that we get the most for our money and we don't have to worry about having to keep this in tip-notch condition every time somebody's coming to see it. Because first impression lasts, so the first impression we get, then we get done. Now, number 12 is allow prospective buyers to visualize themselves in your home. So remember how we talk about neutralizing? So this comes into play about neutralizing. Want to get everything neutralized. I know grays are in right now, grays, beige, everything neutral. So people could literally see themselves in it. If you had a feature wall, you had like a red wall or a yellow wall or something to that effect, you may want to get that painted up before you put it on the market, because a lot of times people see a house and it looks so fantastic, and then you start looking through the pictures and you're like, absolutely not, no, 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 right? So you want to make sure that the front of the home reflects the inside and vice versa, okay? So that's a good thing. Now, a deal killer is odors, right? Cat odor, dog odor, pet odor, food. I showed a home maybe 2 weeks ago, I believe, and the seller was obviously cooking. So when we went in, it was this cooking smell that hit us, and it wasn't the most pleasing. I don't know what she was cooking, but it wasn't the most pleasing. And the buyer immediately said, yuck, what's that smell? And of course, I'm glad she didn't speak English, so she didn't understand what he said. But obviously, it's a reaction because the smell just hit us so hard. And I'm not sure why she decided to cook knowing that we were going to come over to see the property. But you're going to have to time your cooking. And if somebody is trying to see the house and you know you're going to be cooking, just don't take that appointment. Ask them to come earlier or the next day, or maybe rearrange your cooking schedule. I'm not sure, based upon how motivated you are to sell the property. But you don't want to be cooking, especially stuff that's going to be maybe you're from a certain culture and it's a native food, and only people from your culture would really anticipate that. Like I'm from Jamaica, and there's some foods that other people may not like because it's not, they have never smelled it before or whatever, or it doesn't look right or whatever it is. Ackee and sawfish being one of those. So, so the thing about that is you don't want to offend the buyer because you are putting your house on the market and you're going to have buyers from all over the place coming in with all kind of different beliefs and all kind of stuff. So that's why you want to make it as neutral as possible, and you don't want to give it a food smell. What you do want to do, you can get nice lavender scented candles, and you could light that throughout the home, or maybe even some deodorizers. I don't know what's in my high today. It's just like crazy. Or some deodorizers and like some Febreze deodorizer and put that throughout the home so it's a nice pleasing smell. It's not an ugly odor smell, but don't use that to try to get over another smell, right? Like if there's a funky smell in the house, don't use the air freshener to try to get rid of that. It is best for you to get an ozone machines. They have a lot of ozone machines on Amazon. You can get one for cheap, especially if you have pet, and run the ozone machine for 24 hours before your next showing is due, and that will take care of that odor for you. Okay, so that's a ozone machine you could use to get rid of the smell. If you're a smoker, it's probably a good idea not to smoke in the house while you have it on the market for sale, because that's going to be a big, big, huge turn off for people that do not smoke. It's going to be big. And the same thing with pets. There are some people that love pets, and there are some people that are allergic to pets, and there are some people that just do not like pets at all, right? So if you have pets, you want to keep the house smelling as neutral as possible. So even if someone comes in, the pet smell isn't there, so they will be like, oh my gosh, they have pets, but I don't even smell anything, right? That's what you want to do for sure. Okay. So orders, no. Okay. So seller disclose everything. So be a smart smeller. Be a smart seller. I can't talk today. Be a smart seller and disclose everything. That is so important, guys. If you know there was a leak a few months or years ago and the watermark is still somewhere, just disclose that. Or even if it was repaired, just disclose that. The more you disclose, the more comfortable the buyer will feel, and the less surprises for the inspector when he goes through the home inspection, right? Because when he goes through the home inspection, he's going to come upon things. The more surprises he finds, the more comfortable the buyer is going to get. So it's best to just disclose everything up front that you know of. That way, there's no problem. And there's a seller's disclosure that you have to fill out. It's best for you to be as honest as possible on that seller disclosure, so there's no surprises for anyone. Okay? Okay, so it's better with more prospects. What does that mean? That means you want to maximize the marketability of your home by showing it to as many buyers as possible. So you want to open it up to the open market, right? You want to get as many people as possible to see your home, because the more people that see your home, the more offers you'll get and the higher the price you'll get, right? So that's definitely a big plus. You definitely want to do that. Keep your emotions in check during negotiations. We just was talking about that. So during negotiations, it's very easy for people's temper to flare. And that's the good thing with real estate agents, because we kind of buffer the seller against the buyer, so they are not at each other, like there's a buffer in between. The seller would have an agent, the buyer offer an agent, or maybe there's an agent between both. But that kind of cushions a lot of stuff, right? Because you're selling your home, you know how hard you work to buy the home, how hard you work to pay for the home, all the upgrades that you made to the home, and then here comes this buyer coming to say stuff you don't want to hear, saying things or degrading the home, or the inspector may have said it needs something and they're asking you for twice the price that it needs to fix, and all this great stuff, right? So you got to be very careful with that, that you don't, remember it's just a negotiation. And then I know it's not just a negotiation for you because this is your prized possession, but remember at the end of the day, you don't want to get high blood pressure or a stroke or a heart attack during negotiations, right? So you want to keep it as in check as possible. And if the buyer is being ridiculous or not wanting to do what you're asking to do, or you feel like they're being unreasonable, then you could always move on to another buyer, right? Don't think because you have one offer you have to stick to that offer, especially if the buyer is not being realistic. You could always ask for it. You could always ask for another offer. And if you have a good realtor and they get more than one offers, they'll keep some of the offers in for backup. So if one person is being ridiculous, you can move on to another buyer, right? So don't get bent out of shape on that. Now you want to learn why your buyer is motivated. How are you going to do that? By asking a few questions. What's your timeline to move? You could ask the agent to ask, if you're using a real estate agent, then you could ask a real estate agent to find out why is the buyer moving, what is their timeline, you know, what's going on. Do they have older kids, younger kids, that kind of stuff. That you could figure that out through asking your agent. And also, if you're home during the showing, don't talk to the buyer. Just kind of listen to them. You're really not supposed to be trying to okay, so let me touch on that subject since I brought it up. If your house is on the market for sale and a buyer comes with a real estate agent to look at the home and your home, especially to stay out of their way, don't try to walk around and point things out and that kind of thing. If the agent have a question, they'll ask you, because what that does is the buyer sees it as you trying to oversell the home, right? So what I normally do, if a seller is home and I'm showing a home, I'm like, hi, I'm going to be showing your home. Is it okay for me to ask you any questions while we're going through? And they say yes. And then they stay away. I go through, and if I have a question, I'll go and ask them. Like if the buyer said, does the fireplace work, or what is the age of the stove or the refrigerator? Since the seller is already there, I might ask them that question. But don't walk around with the buyer and their agent as they show the property. Unless there's something unique about the home and you want to make sure you point it out because the buyer would miss it or the agent would miss it, then that's fine. But once you point that out, just try to stay away from them so that they do their own thing. You walking around is not really going to help the situation. And a lot of times buyers are very uncomfortable with that. So it's a good idea for you just to stay out of the way if it is at all possible. What the buyer can really pay. So, as we all know, in this market, pre-approvals are very important, right? We need our buyers to have pre-approval letters, and most of the time, if a buyer is being shown your home by an agent, most of the time that buyer would have been qualified, because a real estate agent is not going to waste their time walking around with people that are not qualified to buy the property, right? So more than likely, the buyer would have been qualified. And if you're selling the home yourself, then you definitely want to make sure the buyer could afford your home, especially now during COVID, and not just be walking through just to walk through. And a lot of agents, including my company, we're doing a lot of live virtual tours. So what we'll do if the person calls, especially people that can't come into our area, Central Florida right now because of COVID, um, we will go and we'll set up a Zoom meeting with them, and we go to the home and we do a walkthrough on Zoom. And that's been very, very successful for us. People could interact on Zoom, that kind of thing. So that's a good thing. So if you're selling your home and an agent calls to say they want to do a showing, but it's going to be a Zoom or virtual showing, that's something that's happening right now, guys. That's the new norm. So it's not like they're trying to come peek on you or anything like that. The buyers sometimes are out of state, especially for Central Florida with so much people coming in, or they may not want to necessarily come to see the house unless they're very, very interested. And a lot of times, after a virtual tour, a buyer will put an offer in and then take it from there. Then on the day of inspection, they'll literally come and take a look at the property. So in our area in Central Florida, live virtual tours are very, very, very popular because our area also attracts so many international buyers, and there's no international traveling right now. They're dependent upon a virtual walkthrough. We also do virtual tours, but the problem with the virtual tours is sometimes they don't tour the home to show you the flow of the home, right? So sometimes you can't figure out, well, what's behind the bathroom, or what's that closet, or how does it flow, and what's across the street from the house, and what's next door to it, and how close is the neighbor, and what's going on in the backyard, and all that kind of stuff. So when we do our virtual tour, we literally tour the entire property. We let you see what's up the street, what's down the street, what's across the street, what's on either side of the property, what's in the back of the property, what does the back of the property look like, what does the side look like, what does the roof look like. All this great stuff goes on during our virtual tour. We walk down the road, up the road. So it's literally like you're there. We open every single closet if you want us to, every kitchen cabinet if you want us to, open all the appliances so you can see what the inside of the appliances are, like the refrigerator and the oven and the microwave. So it's a very thorough tour that's very popular right now, and I encourage all my sellers to agree to virtual tours because that's the only way you're going to be selling right now, right? And people are literally buying from the virtual tours, from the live virtual tours. So you have a regular virtual tour. Sometimes you have what is called a Matterport, which is like a 3D that will flow you through different floors of the house. And then you have a live virtual tour, so you literally see everything. And a lot of people are doing that right now. Another thing that's important when you're selling the home is finding out what is the timeline of the buyer that you're working with. So how soon are they looking to move? And then that has to work with how soon you're looking to sell. So the two got to come together, right? That's going to be very important. Never sign a deal on your next home until you sell your current home. Why is that? Well, you may have a house and you might think, okay, this will sell in no time, so I could sign a contract. In this market that we're in right now, not even the builders are taking contingency on you selling your home. Back in the days, we're able to put an offering on a home, and if you're selling a home, you could go put an offering on another home or contract on a new construction home with the contingency of you selling your home. But that's not happening right now, so it's a good idea for you to put your house on the market, get an offer, get in a contract. Once that's done, then you could either go look for a new construction home or you could look for another resale home based upon what you're doing. If you're selling your home to buy another one, it's always a great idea to get contract on the one you're buying first, right? You can always work with the buyer to negotiate closing dates and all that stuff. You could also negotiate on that side. New construction builders, they're kind of flexible. I don't say they're always flexible, but they're kind of more flexible than some sellers are. So they'll give you flexibility and room as well. Now, what if you are buying a new construction home and it's going to take 6 to 7 to 8 months to build? As long as you have the down payment for the new construction home, you could go ahead and do the down payment to seal the contract, right? And it's going to take 6 to 7 months. So around about the third or the fourth month is when I put the house on the house on the market for sale, and that's what I do for my sellers that are moving out. Put the house on the for sale on the third or fourth month, and then coordinate the closing between the buyer and the builder, right? And even if it means you may have to either lease back the house for a week or two from the buyer, or you may have to put your stuff in storage and be homeless for a month. Where homeless meaning you either staying at a friend's house or you're staying in a hotel or you found a furnished short-term rental or something like that. That's way better because guess what? You know your home is sold and you know you have the money in hand, right? As opposed to building the house for 6 months, now the house is ready. Now you got to sell your house to close. Your house probably has an offer on it, but the contract is taking, like it's not closing as soon as you'd like. You don't want to get in that situation. So it's always a great idea to sell first. Also, it's a great idea to still live in the home if possible, because homes that are lived in and that are staged tend to sell more than homes that are empty, right? Empty homes, people are thinking, well, it's empty, so we could offer whatever because there's nobody living there. That doesn't always work, but it's always a great idea to plan to sell before you buy, if at all possible, unless you have somewhere to move to, or unless you could literally own two homes with no problem, then of course you could do that. So I just kind of explained moving out before you sell can put you at an advantage, right? So you want to sell before you move out. Okay, and deadlines create a serious disadvantage. So that's another thing too. Like if you found another home you want to buy before you sell your home, now you're going to be in a rush to sell your home. So you may not take the best offer. You might not take the first offer that makes sense, right? Not necessarily the best offer for you. So that's one of the reasons why we encourage that, because we don't want you to be stuck on a deadline. A low offer, don't take it personally, right? So if you get a low offer on the home, don't take it personally. That's just somebody trying to get over, and they do it all the time to everybody. So, just move on. You could always say that offer is too low for me to counter, right? You could always say that. So turn that low offer around. You can also counter that offer and let them know realistically what you're asking for, okay? Maybe the buyer is not qualified. That's very important. We've got to make sure we have pre-approval letters, make sure the buyers are qualified. And as I said, for the most part, if an agent is showing your home, that person will definitely be qualified, because an agent is not going to go around with an unqualified buyer for too long. It's not going to happen. Okay. Ensure the contract is complete. So once you get an offer and you're going to write your contract up, if you're using an agent, they're going to be using Florida state contract. So they're going to be filling in all the dots. But if you're selling by yourself, you may want to ask maybe the title company to get a contract for you. And you want to make sure everything is correct on the contract. And there's a lot of things that can be missed, so that you want to make sure that you're doing correctly. And finally, number 27, resist deviating from the contract. Okay. So what does that mean? That means maybe you may want to move the closing date, or maybe the buyer might want to move the closing date because maybe their financing is not coming through as fast as they thought, or that type of thing. This happens all the time. Closing dates change all the time. Inspection date might change. So that happens with reason. In other words, if it's a week or two from the agreed upon date, it may not be too bad. But when it becomes a month or more, then it becomes a whole other different ball game, right? So in going in, you want to make sure you set a realistic closing date, and you want to make sure you set realistic inspection date. The buyer has up to 15 days for inspection. You can make it, you could give them the full 15, you can give them 10, or you could give them 5. Basically is up to you what you do with that. But trying to deviate from the contract, if you say you're going to leave stuff, a lot of times what happens with the contract is when people say they're going to leave things and then they decide not to. Like, we're going to leave the dining room table for the buyer, and that ends up going in the contract, and then, no, you know what, I think we need our dining room table, we're not leaving it anymore. Right? So those are the kind of stuff that we're talking about when we say resist deviating from the contract, not necessarily a closing date or an inspection date, but just other little items that may go in the contract. Um, different other things that is agreed upon and that's put in the contract, and then people have mind change or different things. Maybe it's the washer and dryer. Maybe you agree to leave the washer and dryer for them, but then you change your mind and then you don't want to leave it anymore, and then that becomes a big chaos because now the buyers are upset because you said you're going to leave the washing machine and dryer. So make sure you decide upon what you're leaving or what's going to happen before you start to write the contract up, and whatever you put in the contract, try to stick it as much as you can, with the exception of a closing date, because that could fluctuate based upon the buyer's finances and the bank, and by the time they get appraisal back. And right now, because the market is so aggressive, some appraisers are backed up 2 to 3 weeks, so that definitely will affect a closing date, right? So that's something to be wary of. So that kind of ends our discussion for today. I hope you enjoy what we shared. Remember to go to our website, www.centralfloridarealestate.info. That website is only for information. There's no soliciting on the website. You won't even know it's a real estate agent website, because it's all about reports on different things to educate you in the field of real estate if you're thinking of buying or selling a home. Thank you so much for being with me this evening and for keeping me company. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy this.